Today I'd like to talk about our energetic boundaries. This is one of the things that we can really develop in our sanctuaries, and one of the reasons why our sanctuaries are so powerful for us and so important. When we're children, we are sometimes taught good boundaries, and sometimes we're taught not such great boundaries. So, for instance, if anybody could barge into your space at any time when you were a child, you probably didn't learn the best boundaries. Or if you were a woman in our Western culture, you learned that you are at the beck and call of everyone at any time. And so, learning how to hold and regain or create our boundaries is an important thing that we can do in our sanctuaries when we take time by ourselves to know ourselves and find out who we are. One of the things that I had to do as I was healing myself from one of my major injuries was to tape a little cue card on the bottom of my telephone so that when people would call and ask me to do something, I wouldn't immediately automatically just respond, "Oh, sure, I'd be happy to do that for you," when my guts and my stomach were churning saying, "Oh, don't do it, Josephine, don't do it." So sometimes we have to learn polite ways of saying no so that we can feel comfortable with saying no. So on my cue card on the bottom of my telephone, it said things like, "Let me get back to you on that," or "Gee, I've got kind of a full dance card these days, but I'll check my schedule and I'll let you know." There were different things like that that could kind of give me a little stall time to help me find the words to say no if I needed to say no. Another way that we can lose our boundaries energetically is if we ever are in a situation where there's overuse of alcohol or recreational drugs, we can sometimes find ourselves moving into a place where we lose our consciousness. And that is a sure way to open up that division between what is a healthy boundary and what is a wide open space. For instance, when I was in my college age, I knew of some people who did that on a regular basis, and their house always had kind of the feelings of lots of energies in there. Doors would close and lights would turn on, and things would happen of that nature that were not so great. So we can reclaim those boundaries by doing a good house cleansing. One of the things that my husband and I did when we first moved into our home was we went through every room of the house. First of all, we started with a good spring cleaning. And then we went through every room of the house and said prayers and rang bells to encourage our intention for a clear space for us to live in, to ring out into the universe. We set little crystals in the windows, above the window frames and above the doors. And we asked for guardians, angels, spirit guides to come and help us hold the space, to be a space of love all around us all the time. And it worked beautifully. So I would really like to encourage you to do that with new homes and new places that you move into, just to clear the air. Then as well, when we are in sanctuary, we can learn to hear the voice of our higher self, which is always neutral and compassionate. And this helps us to distinguish between other voices that we might hear inside of our heads. So often we are acculturated into hearing different, voices of should or shame or blame from our childhood or from our religious upbringings. There are lots of things that we are told that we must do or ways that we must behave. And if they don't feel quite right to us, then they can sort of set us off and we can get confused and we cannot feel comfortable in our own skins. So I like to encourage people to take time in their sanctuary to listen to their own inner self, to listen for those voices that are always neutral and compassionate. And those are the ones that are the voices of our higher self, and they can keep us on track with our lives. Then, as well, another thing that we can do is to really take time to get a sense of our own feelings. Our feeling sense is one of our strongest senses, and it will always guide us true. We think about our sight and our vision and our hearing and our ability to taste and touch and smell, but we don't often think about our feelings. And our feelings are very, very accurate. They're a very accurate sense, and we can really rely on them and depend on them to help us to feel good about boundaries. So if it doesn't feel good to walk down that alley, don't go down there. If it feels great to walk this other way, then walk that other way. So I'd just like to remind everybody about the feeling sense. And then from a good sense of boundaries, we find that we can enter into the boundless. It's when we have a good basis and we know who we are and we are clear about what our energy is about, then we can go ahead and make our explorations into the realms of the mystery, like our psychic ability, which is what I love to teach. So thank you very much for listening to this little bit today about energetic boundaries. This has been Josephine Lang. Really appreciate you visiting today. Bye now.